So I was craving tiramisu, and so I decided to make my own knockoff of tiramisu. It is not traditional by any means, but it had the flavor profile, so I was a happy girl. The first thing I did was took me some cold coffee and brewed that up nice and strong. I had me some baker's chocolate, some biscotti. I know it calls for ladyfingers, but we'll get to that in a little bit. An 8-ounce package of cream cheese, some heavy whipping cream, some Cool Whip, some vanilla extract, and some sour cream. So I will explain all of these ingredients here as we move along. First things first, I went ahead and grated up my chocolate with a box grater into a fine powder, and then I set that aside to use later. Next, I've got my 8x8 baking dish all ready to go. I'm about to go ahead and start preparing my ladyfingers. I have me some cold brew coffee that's been brewing all day, so it's nice and strong. And then, like I said, I got biscotti biscuits. You're supposed to use ladyfingers, but I was not able to find ladyfingers. So I used these biscotti biscuits. I took them and I dipped them into the coffee. I just like kind of circled it around and around and around and around in the coffee until they were well saturated, but not too soft, because when I made them too soft, they fell apart. So just long enough for them to be soaked with the coffee. And then I layered them into my baking dish. Smashed them down just a little bit. Next, I went ahead and made my mock mascarpone cheese. This recipe normally calls for mascarpone cheese, but I was not able to find that. So instead, I used a brick of cream cheese, about 3 dollops of sour cream, about 1/4 of a cup of heavy whipping cream, and about 2 tablespoons of real vanilla extract. I mixed that well, and that kind of was like my mock mascarpone cheese. It ended up kind of being like a cheesecake consistency, but it turned out really, really well. So then I went ahead and added a couple tablespoons of granulated sugar. I didn't want it to be too sweet, but you know, usually tiramisu is not incredibly sweet. So I did not want it to be incredibly sweet. So I added it just enough just to make it have that sweetness to it. Then I went ahead and mixed it with my electric mixer until it became a really smooth, creamy texture. That was the texture that I ended up with after I mixed it for about 10 minutes or so. Next, I went ahead and started layering my tiramisu. There's my coffee-soaked biscotti biscuits. I went ahead and took my cream cheese mixture and layered that on top. I put a thin layer on top, about half of the product that you have, half of the cream cheese that you have, because we're only making 2 layers. So I just went ahead and put that on top and then just spread it all around to cover the biscuits. Then I took my Cool Whip. Cool Whip is definitely not in tiramisu. You usually make your own homemade. But I decided to take an easy shortcut and just use the Cool Whip in the frozen Cool Whip that I had thawed out. So it's been sitting at room temperature, and I just went ahead and put a layer of that over the top of my cream cheese mixture. Then to finish off my first layer, I did go ahead and sprinkle on about half of my chocolate that I had shredded up earlier. Next, I made my second layer. Went ahead and very carefully wet my cookies. And as you can see, I can just push a little bit down on there. You don't want it to be saturated to the point where it's going to fall apart on you. So went ahead and layered those. See, that's how it happened when I got it too wet. It fell apart on me. So it's not very attractive, but it's going to be covered with whipped cream, so you won't really notice it. But there's my other layer, or my other cookie. Just showing you, still showing an example. Got it nice and saturated with that coffee. That coffee's been brewing all day, so it's very, very strong. So yeah, just enough until you can push down a little bit on that, until it gives you some give. I also love the almonds in those biscotti biscuits. Now, as you can see, I went ahead, by the magic of camera, went ahead and already put my cream cheese mixture on top. There's my other whipped cream mixture. Going ahead and getting that layered on as much as possible. Oh, this was so creamy. If you're lactose intolerant, I wouldn't recommend this recipe. It is full of lactose and cream, but it's so delicious. So there's that. I just went ahead and layered that on as thick as I could. Then I obviously put the rest of my chocolate on top. Sprinkled it on top. I put this in the refrigerator and let it chill for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. After it chilled for an hour and a half, it became settled enough where I was able to cut it and serve myself some. So this was turned out really, really good, and that's the layers. That's your chance to see how the layers turned out. But this tiramisu was so good. It was something in a pinch. Obviously it's not the real deal, but it has the flavor profiles and it worked in a pinch. Thanks for watching. Hope you try.